I'm Andrew Phillips and welcome to my channel. Today we are back working on the R2-D2 build project. This is the 3D printed R2-D2 that we're going to be building fully functional. Well, today we start part 4, so let's go ahead and get started. So I have all of the pieces printed here. If you want to see the other videos that I've done, the other 3 parts 1, 2, and 3, we went into the files that I'm going to be using, where you can download those. I have links to that as well as some of the manuals that go with it. We also talked about the different LED lights for the dome. We went into building the dome, all that. You can check those out. I'll have them down in the description, as well as links to some other videos related to Star Wars that I've done with some CGI tests. Also did a rotoscope test with lightsabers, all that. You can check that out. But what we have here, spent a lot of time printing all these files here. Now, this is for the main dome. It's not the legs or anything like that. I'm sorry, not the main dome, the main body. So it doesn't include the legs, the feet, things like that. This is just for the main torso body of R2-D2, as well as you can see here, I have some smaller pieces here. These are the little vents that go along the bottom. We also have the arms that come out, things like that. We've printed all that. But here's some clips of us printing all the files, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now that we have everything printed, what I'm going to be doing in this video, we're going to be attaching everything. Now, because I want this to be more structural, when we worked on the dome, we used a lot of super glue, a little bit of JB Weld. For this one here, I'm going to be using only JB Weld's epoxy because I want something stronger. I believe that has a 31 or 3200 PSI. I want something that's really going to bond it strong, because super glue, unfortunately, you'll get a good bond, but it can be kind of brittle and it can break easy under stress. I want something that can handle the weight, because this main body is going to be supporting the legs, the feet, all that. So want it to be strong. So in this video, we're going to be epoxying all this together. We're going to be using the filler primer that we used on the dome, going over all that, sanding it smooth, painting it, and detailing it. That's how we're going to end off this part 4 episode here, is with the entire main body completely painted and finished, and with the dome attached to it on the top. So what we're going to do now that we have everything printed, I'm going to start getting, because the main dome is actually printed in sections. You have a 1, 2, and 3 different layers. You have the bottom and that, and then you do have these pieces here, which is the main skirt that goes on the bottom where the third leg will come out of. So what I'm going to be starting with first is gluing the main thing, and then we'll do the skirt last, because I believe I have to add that after the third leg is done, because there's a support piece that gets mounted inside of it. But enough of the talking. Let's get down to business, getting all this prepped and epoxied together and then painted, and then we'll be back at the end to look at everything done and wrap this up. Here's a close-up of all the parts that I had to print right here, just to give you an idea. This thing took a long time. Some of these parts took 2.5 days to print on the printer because of just the detail and the size. You can see the size right here on some of these. They're over 1 foot high right there. It goes all the way to here. And then we've got all of the hinges and different components for the doors to open and close, because on mine, I'm not going to have them open and close automatic, but I still want them to open and close. I'm just going to use a magnet to hold them closed for now. I may come back at a later time and add little motors onto all that. So I don't want to put myself in a position where I can't upgrade R2 at a later point and make more of the things mechanical on it. But there's all the pieces right there. I'm going to be using JB Weld Clear Weld, but I recommend getting it in the bottles like this instead of in the syringe, because you get 9 times more of the epoxy and it's not much more expensive. Next, we're going to sand this down real good where we're going to be joining it. You want it to be nice and smooth, so we're going to sand down any of the print lines so we have a nice smooth surface where we'll connect it. This is a two-part epoxy. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix the same amount of each one. So we'll put that dab there, put another one, approximately the same amount, mix it really good. Once we have it mixed, you want to spread it out evenly over the entire surface where it's going to be bonded together. And then we'll use these clips to hold it while it's drying so we get a nice tight bond, obviously making sure that everything is nice and straight and level. And we'll let it dry properly before we take the clips off. So what we have here, this is the first section on the bottom. And then on this side here, you have the skirt, but all this has been glued together. It's drying right now, almost done. Once that's done, then we can start putting the second and third sections, because you can see right here how they match up with those little tabs sticking up. So once we have this in place, we have it nice and level and straight, we can start building onto it, and it should go easy. And then from there, we can then add all of the vents onto it. Next thing I have here, we have the skirt. It's glued. As we saw in the last clip, we were gluing it there. So I'm getting ready to glue it now in these spots. We'll get that secured. I just need to wait for this one to dry so I can get those clamps off of it. Then we'll get this one dried as well. And then we're pretty much good to go as we move up. And then here's all the vents. You have the ones here on the front, the lower ones. We have the doors. You have vents here, here, little piece in here. And then we have these parts here. So all those, once we get all of this assembled, we're going to Bondo it, prime and fill it with the filler primer, and get it painted. Then we're going to come back and paint all of these vents because they get blue and silver on them. We'll get all those finished up as well, get the door hinges in place as well, and then we can put this whole main body together before we wrap up this video. Let me show you. I put these panels right in here that go behind these doors, this little door here. You can put some LEDs in there. This one here, same thing. You can put some LED lights in there when it's done if you want to make it kind of flashing when the doors are open. So we have it all together here. You can take a look. I just finished epoxying the entire main body together. So all this has been all put together. I have these arms here just pretty much just laying in place. But eventually we're going to have motors in here so that these can open and close like this. But for now, I just laid them in. Still need to fix the seams and smooth them out and paint it. I have the head on here with the Lazy Susan. You can see how it rotates. It's not permanently fixed in place. But the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the body, and I need to sand it down with probably about 80 grit sandpaper, get all of the print lines off of it. These things will obviously come out. So this right here, I can take these out now. But we'll go over the whole thing, sand it real good. Then we're going to Bondo all of the seams, let that dry, and then we're going to sand it again with like, I think it was 180 that we used last time. Smooth it out real good, see if there's any more flaws showing. And then we'll Bondo it again, get it nice and smooth. Then we'll use the filler primer, put 2 coats of that, sand it nice and smooth, and then we're going to paint it satin white. And then we'll be back to do all of the arms and the doors. We have a door that goes here, a door that goes here, one that goes here, one there. Those will be done in white. Then we have all of the vents and little panels along the bottoms and sides that get painted silver and blue. We'll do those as well, put it all together, and then that'll wrap up this video. The head is not permanently on here because I still need to build the inner gear that the motor is going to connect to. We'll do that later on once we're ready to mount the motor. But let me get some close-ups here, and then we're going to get down to business, getting all of the filling and painting and sanding and all done so that we can wrap this up. Here's a close-up. So as you see here, you can see what I'm talking about. You can see some seams in here, seams here. Now, once the doors get put here, we'll put the hinges on it. We're just going to connect it with a magnet. And then at a later time, I may put motors to open all this. Also, there's arms that go here. And then there's one that goes in here. We'll add those later. For now, we're just doing the door. But here you can see the lines. See that? We got to get all that smooth. And then all these little seams right here, we'll get all that filled so that's nice and smooth. Down at the bottom, you have the skirt. You can see that. That is not attached yet. That will not get attached. And let's get a close-up here on the inside. You can see those screw holes there. Once we put the third leg mount, that will then attach all that together. So for now, we're just going to paint that skirt separately and then the main body separately. And then once we're done with the legs, then we'll come back and attach all that together. Cannot put the frame that the Lazy Susan mounts on for the head in there yet, because if we come in here on the side, you can see these openings right here. There's leg supports that get mounted in there, so we'll do that on the next video when we do the legs. But that's how it looks right here. And then probably add some LEDs in here and in here at a later time as well, so when those doors are open, you see all the LEDs flickering. And then here's the arm that I was talking about. You can see right there how it has, get a close-up right there. You can see the seam. So that all needs to be filled before we paint it blue. Next, I'm going to use this Bondo glazing putty. We used this before when working on a dome, but this is really good to fill any of the seams and any little gaps and cracks. So we'll put that in there, let that dry, and then we'll sand it. The Bondo has dried, so I'm going to take this 180 grit sandpaper. We're going to sand all that down nice and smooth, all the spots that we applied the Bondo. Next, I'm going to take this small file. We're going to just go inside of all these little cracks right here and clean out any Bondo and body filler that got in there. So that way those lines are nice and clean. And after we do that, I'm going to go into all of these and just take the file and accentuate it, clean out any print lines or anything. You want those lines nice and clear. First coat of filler primer is done. It turned out really good. Now, one of the things that the primer will do is obviously prime it and fill in any imperfections, but it will also accentuate any flaws. We'll take 320 grit sandpaper, go over the whole thing, get it nice and smooth, and then we're going to come back with Bondo and fill any additional things before we do the second coat. Just finished our second coat of filler primer, and we had a couple imperfections that weren't taken care of by the filler primer. So we added some Bondo in those spots. We just let it dry, so we're gonna sand it. But you can see everything looks really good, turned out great. So once we get these spots taken care of, we're ready to paint it. So we're gonna use this 320 grit fine sandpaper. We're gonna hit those Bondo areas and get those just kind of spot primed, and then we'll be back to paint it. So here's what I'm gonna be using to paint it. We're using this Rust-Oleum 2X. It's a satin blossom white. I found this is the best match for R2-D2, the satin blossom white. The whole body, as you can see, has been completely painted. Everything is good. We've got the door panels here. We have the lower skirt right there. Can't attach that though until we start putting the legs in, because there's a support that goes here on the inside, right down where all the screw holes are. There's a support for the third leg, and then that will then connect that to it. And then we still have to put the two side supports in here for the side legs. So we'll get to that in the next video, but I just wanted to show you right here. So I started putting these here. These are the little hinges for the doors. So we have those in place, have these here. We're setting this one. You can see we have it clamped, and then I need to do the last one. So we're gonna get those done, and then we'll be back. And then once we get back, we'll start attaching the doors to it. But I wanna show you what I did, because on the inside of the doors, you normally have little holes as shown here. Now you can get little screws and screw those in, but what I found works is I'm just using just little pieces of filament. I've super glued them in, and I'm going to use these. So right here, I'll show you. We'll be able to line it up. Let's see here. Like that. See, normally you can just screw it through, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to epoxy that together, and I'm just using these pieces of filament as guides. And then once that dries completely, we'll snip those ends off. But what I'm going to do, as I just mentioned, I'm going to put the other hinges there on the last door, and then we'll be back to start setting the doors in place and see how that looks. And then we can then start moving on to the arms and vents and all that, and then wrap this up. The doors are now setting in. I have this one here. The top one's completely glued in place. The bottom one's setting. This one here for the smaller door, just glued the bottom one, top one setting. This one and this one, only the top ones are drying. And then we'll come in and we'll do the bottom ones. And then once it fully dries, we'll open and close them so you can see it. Not going to motorize these at this point, but I am leaving the options there. Eventually, you can see right in here and here, you can put some LEDs, different things in there. So I may activate all that at a later time. That's why I'm putting the hinges, and we're just gonna maybe put a little magnet to keep them closed for now. And then on this side and also on this side, there's little arms that go in there, and you can motorize them to where the doors will open, the arms will pop out, things like that. Not getting into that right now, but just like with these, I'm leaving the doors in there with the hinges. And I do have the, I printed the mechanisms that would connect to the motors on the inside in case at a later time I want to do that. And then I can print the little gear, the little arms that come out, all that. But for now, we're just going to leave everything just with a magnet sealed. And then we'll come back at a later time, not in this whole video that we're doing with this R2 build, but at a later time, maybe come back and do that. So I'm letting this dry. Once we have everything completely dried and the doors can open and close, then we'll come back and take a look at that. Finished getting the doors in place, and I'll show you here. We grab this. Now keep in mind, as mentioned already, if we, this opens and closes. And some of these are a little bit tight right here, but there we go. And this one here opens up in here. And I'm going to put magnets once this is all done to hold these doors closed. And then eventually maybe some LED lights in there. That one here, a magnet will hold that one closed. And then on this one moves freely. And the only issue, and once again, a magnet will hold that. The only issue is on this one. It's a little bit tight down here at the bottom. And let me get a close up. You can see the hinge right there. And everything is good. It's just, it's rubbing a little bit. And on all of these, I had to take this little file and just kind of file where these hinges go in. Like right there in those openings. It was a little bit tight. What I would recommend, because I put these panels in here first and then painted it and then came back, put the doors on. I would say at least mount the hinges. You don't have to put the doors on them, but get them put on first, then attach these panels in the back. That way you can adjust the openings where they need to go in. Otherwise you have to do like I did and I had to file it. But other than that, this one here is just a little tight right there. All the other ones are fine. Once the magnets are in place, those doors will stay shut all the time. So this is all done. Next, we're ready to start doing all the vents. So if we come here, I have them sprawled out here. These are all the vent pieces. Some of these get painted silver, some of these get painted blue. I'm kind of bringing all the blue ones and setting them here because that'll be my next part that we're going to do next. I'm going to get all this, like with these, the arms. I'm going to have to sand down those seams real good. We have to glue the little caps in there and then use any filler that might be needed and then get all this painted. We'll paint it blue, clear coat it, sand it, buff it like we did on the dome, and then we'll move on to all the silver pieces here, the little vents and all these little components here. These are all extras. When I printed the hinges for all the doors, I printed a set for each mount, and basically it was way too much. Now, if you are going to make the doors open and close, these are the arms that you're using right here. These connect to these little hinge pieces. And if you see here on the hinge piece, you see how it has that little opening. Well, basically this little tip locks in there, and then this will then connect onto, let's see, where's the other piece? Onto this guy right here. And this one here connects to the motor. And that little ball will then mount in here, and then that will then go back and forth, and that will make the door open and close. So if we come back here onto the dome, I'll show you. You can see, let's see, where's one? Well, you can see it right here. You see that little indented track right here? That arm mounts right in there, and that will push that door open and closed. If we come here onto this one too, you have down there, you have that little opening where one would slide in there as well. So that's how you would do it. As mentioned already several times, I'm not doing it on mine right now. Maybe at a later time I may come back and do that. But as you can see, the main body is coming along nicely. So let's start prepping and painting all of the vents so we can get them all glued in here, and then that'll wrap up this episode of this R2-D2 build. Everything has been painted here. So we have the frames that go into these little side pieces, and those mount in the middle. We have the two front vents. We have these other ones with the blue inserts, and then we have these silver ones here, and then these vents. Now, I still have these I have to do, and these are in multiple pieces because we have these little parts here. So I need to sand them, fill prime, paint, and then I got to come and mask it, do it blue in here, and then come back and put these in. So we're going to do those later. But for these here, the next thing we're going to use is that aluminum wax that we used on the dome. So if you've been following this, you would have seen it. I believe it was in this part 2 where we showed that. But I'm going to take it and we're going to buff these so that way it doesn't have this really shiny, kind of flimsy, kind of painted silver look. It'll look more aluminum like the dome. So we're going to get those done, and then we'll start attaching these in here into the body. And you can see I've already started putting some of the stuff in there. But we'll get all that mounted, and then we'll be back to take a look at it. And this is the polish that I'm using here. It's a wax metallic finish by Craftsmart. There's other ones as well that you can get, but I've found this one here look the best. But that's what I'm going to be using to give it that more aluminum metal look instead of the painted look. Now here's a comparison. This is the one that was just painted. This is the one that's been polished. You can see how it has more of an aluminum look instead of this really bright kind of shiny silver paint. It looks more like metal. So I'm going to polish all the other pieces, and then we're going to mount them inside the main body. We have everything together here. As you can see, we have the main vent here, added this. Still have the side ones that we need to do, but just wanted to show you real quick. If you see this vent right here, or not vent, but this piece here, you can see how it cracked. I have a crack here and a crack here. Did the same in the back. Reason being, probably should have sanded this down a little bit better to get it to fit, but just keep that in mind. If it's tight, sand it down so it goes in smooth, because by putting it in, it was a little bit tight. It was enough to not split the adhesive, but the body filler. So what I'll do is when this is all done, the full R2-D2, because I'm probably going to have little flaws that are going to pop up in general, we'll go over the entire thing and touch up any loose ends at that point. But you can see that we have come here on the inside, everything for these arms, we have it here, and then one up here, you can see that one right there. So when we mount the motors, little motors will go here, and here it'll be able to open and close it. So as I come here to the front, and if I grab this one and I turn it like this, we can open and close it like that. So the motor will be able to do that. And another thing, because here on the insides, there's a support that goes for that leg, a support for that leg. We also have the skirt down here on the bottom. You can see it there. That's not permanently on, because as we look in here, you'll see those screw holes right there. That's for the third leg. So I need to put the leg supports in here. And then once that's done, the skirt will be attached because it'll screw through. And then these shoulder pieces will go in where the legs can then connect here on the outside and mount that way. So once that's done, this ring here, because this is just loose, that will be tightened down permanently. Now, what I have, we have this long threaded rod right here. You have them that we pull back here. You can see these holes. In all those holes, you have the threaded rod that'll go in. So basically, let me straighten that up. I'll show you. So this would go in. It'll slide in. Or actually, wait, that might not be the right one. Maybe this one. There we go. It'll slide all the way down. And then I'll have to trim them because these are kind of long. But these are 832s right here is what I'm using. Those are the threaded rods. So basically, it'll come down there on the inside. It'll come down here on the bottom. We'll put the nut and washer, tighten it on that end, and then we'll bring it up here, cut it right about there, and then we'll put the nut there, tighten it down. That'll also hold this together. And I guess if you want to do it differently than what I did, because I'm building it in sections, so we did the dome, and then now the main body and all the vents, then we're going to do the legs. If you wanted to put the shoulder pieces in first, then run these rods all the way through holding it together, that may have prevented that from cracking right there because it would have been tightly squashed down all the body panels. So you wouldn't have had that issue, but it doesn't matter. So on the next video, when we do the legs, we'll get all that secured. We'll get the rods put down in there, tighten up. And then as mentioned already, once I'm done with the full R2-D2, I'm just going to go around and touch up things at that point. But if we come over here, these are the only pieces that we have left, are these guys right here. Getting ready to work on them. Just need to do some sanding, filler primer and prepping on those. And then we're going to spray these completely all silver. And I'll show you what the file, I would have done it differently, but you have these pieces here that get glued on. I would have had this all been one piece and had the back glue on. That way you would paint this silver, paint the back blue, and attach it. Instead, I got to take all these off. And what we're going to do is prep this up, paint all this silver, let it dry. We'll mask off the silver, then spray the middle blue, let that dry, and then we'll attach these afterwards, and then that'll take care of it. And that's the same with this vent over here is made the same way. So what we're going to do now that we've seen here what's going on with the body, it's looking really good. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get those vents that we just looked at, we're going to get them prepped, painted, filler primed, and then painted, and then we'll put them in. They go here, and then one in the back, and then you've got right there, you can see the indentation under the legs. So we'll be back to attach all those, and then that'll conclude this part 4 video, and we can wrap this up. Just finished painting all the vents and the support little strips that go in there. They're all painted silver. Everything's been sanded down. Now, it looks very bright and kind of cheap because we haven't applied that aluminum wax to it. So the next thing I'm going to do, since they've fully dried, we're going to mask everything off except the center area that gets painted blue. We'll spray it blue. Once that dries, we'll put the little beams in there, the little support strips, and then we'll attach this to R2's main body back here, and then we'll come along with that aluminum polish and polish it down to make it look more like the dome so it's not this real bright spray paint silver. This is how I've masked everything. Pretty much outlined it so that way the blue will only go in the indented area there, so the whole frame has been covered, and then we'll lay everything in when it's done. Here it is finished now, so we'll peel the masking off, and you want to go gentle. And I'm using just the regular blue painter's tape. You don't want anything with a lot of tack where it can damage the silver. But as we peel this off, it's looking really good, and it kept the blue right where I wanted it, just in that middle section. Remove this top piece of tape here. See how that looks? Look at that. Nice, clean lines. That's exactly how I wanted it, like that. You can see it. Looks really good. And here's a close-up. You can see all the vents. We did it the same way. And now we're just letting the blue dry. And here it is now, completely dried. We glued in all of the strips. It looks really good. Just finished putting the pieces in. You can see this vent here on the side. This one here, you can see it goes under the leg. And then if we come here onto the other side, let's see here. Should be able to see the other ones. We have these here. So we have this side and then one here in the back. So that wraps up all the vents. And then if we come in here, you can see from the inside, that's what it looks like in here. Everything is in there. Now, you can bolt them in if you want to drop the little nuts in there and screw everything in. I just used just epoxy and glue, glued all the vents and pieces in because I'm not planning on taking them out. But there we can go. You see it again there. And then wrapping around there. So the main body is done, except for those little spots that we do need to fix where it kind of split apart on the seams, as mentioned already. When we get everything completed, then we'll probably go over the whole thing because we'll probably have some more issues that we'll just have to tighten up on. You can see that. So I'm going to put the dome on. We'll get everything put together, and then we'll be right back to take a look at it and wrap this up. Okay, well, that wraps up this video on the R2-D2 build project, part 4, where we were working on the main body. As we saw, it's a lot involved with this thing, a lot of pieces that have to be printed, a lot of prep work, and a lot goes into it to get it to this point, but happy with how it's turning out. As mentioned already in this video, have some little flaws. Once we're done with everything, we'll patch that up. The head is just resting in here. I was just moving it here on the inside. But once we get everything situated, we'll get the gears mounted, the motors. It'll all be remote to do that. Next part, on part 5, the next video, we're going to be working on the legs. We're going to be working on the 2 side legs, the middle leg. Don't know if we're getting into the feet. Got to see how that goes. But the goal is to get those legs done so we can get him at least off the ground. You can see right here, he's pretty good size. This is a full size build right here. But I hope that this video was informative for you. I hope that if you're working on a 3D printed R2-D2 project, that this is informative information for you. This is not a how-to video, as we've mentioned multiple times during this series, just kind of documenting my progress as I make one. So I'm not going step by step, but if you are working on one, you've got any questions, please send me any questions or comments and maybe I can help you out with that. But it's coming along nicely. So please like this video. I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next parts coming out. As soon as this video posts, we're going to be starting to print and film part 5 with the legs. As mentioned already earlier in this video, I'll also have links down in the description to the other parts 1, 2, and 3, where we went into making the dome. We talked about what printer I'm using, the filament that I'm using. I also had links to download the Mr. Bagley's files that I'm using for this R2-D2 build, as long as some other links. You want to check those out if you're planning on doing that. That'll be helpful for you. But we also need to put the lights in here eventually, the LED lights as well. So moving along nicely, but just be prepared if you're planning on doing one. It's not too expensive because the filament's not expensive. You can get printers pretty cheap as well, a couple $100, but it's a lot of time involved to doing it right, to sanding it, smoothing it, all that stuff. So please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the support. I'll see you next time.